Everybody. Been a minute. Ooh. Hi, everybody. Hello. It's been a while. Oh, goodness. Oh, Lord. How you doing? You guys, I'm late to the party. I almost forgot that I actually was doing a show. Oh, my God. How are you guys doing? Welcome to the show. What's up, y'all? Just trying to check to make sure we have live. You guys, I have some new set and I'm not using my microphone tonight because I'm doing some new setup. So everything check live. Well, how are you guys doing? How's life? It's been a while. The big elephant in the room been gone for a little bit. I haven't had a show in like 3 weeks, right? 3 weeks. Oh my God. I'm going to post the link. Anybody who wants to join is more than welcome to. Got person watching. You guys, I almost forgot how to do this whole thing. Yeah. You guys, I can't stream live on the other page because I don't have 100 followers, you guys. I have to have, oh, there's 4 people already. Hi guys, how are you? It's good to be back. I'm trying to put the link in the comments section. Uh, I feel like this is my first time doing this again. It's been a minute, but we are here. First show in a while. It's been such a long time. It's good to be back. I missed you guys. Um, actually, I don't even know how to do this thing now. Hi guys, how are you? I'm here. I hope you guys can hear me good because my microphone is not connected. So I got a new microphone set. This one is like I'm doing a whole audio setup and everything. So since the kids broke the other one, I'm not using that one. This one I bought, well, I got it as a gift. Uh, super, super good. I think I forgot to share the link. Hey, it's been such a long time. Probably should I make this show a little bit less heavy? But I really wanted to talk about this topic. Anybody who would like to join is more than welcome to. But welcome, you guys. My name is Felicia. I am your host. Salome is watching. Okay, you can hear me. That's good. That's good. Awesome. Awesome. All right, you guys. I have been gone. I apologize for being gone for so long, but I definitely needed to be off for a very Obvious reason. Uh, I would say the past 3 weeks has been really, really, what's the word? It was tough, but it was definitely needed. Um, I spent a lot of time, just so I'm a reader, but haven't really been reading since I had my kids. So these 3 weeks I took off, I try to figure out how to really like get myself involved in reading again. But I found a new thing that I could do. I know there's been like audiobooks and things like that, but I tap into TikTok. I don't know if you guys are knowledgeable about that. There's TED Talks about, learning your purpose and things like that. Um, and listening to all the speakers and things like that really had the time to really dig deep into my own life and to really understand who I am. I just want to say thank you to all of you guys who reach out to me over the past 3 weeks, and those of you who quietly said a prayer for me or everybody else who's went through the loss of my cousin. It was a really eye opener, you guys. I know we take life for granted a lot, and we think we talk to people and we'll definitely talk to them again the next day and the next day and the next day. And that one really hit home for me because just a little over a week before the passing, I talked to him and it was through text messages. And we had planned so many things with his sister because we all have the same birth month. And literally, he and I shared the same birthday. But I remember giving him hard time. I was like, "When are you having your kids?" and things like that. And only to find out the next day or that Monday he was gone. That's shocking. I mean, I'm still in shock, but I think through the whole process, I really have learned that my time here is very limited and I need to make use out of it. And the little time that I have, I will make use out of it. Uh, it might not be the best, but I learned to appreciate the moment and anything that's around me. And, definitely a life lessons because he and I would say over the past 5 years, um, people around my age, I've lost, you know, quite a few of people around my age. And that just got me really thinking about my lives and, people that are into it and how to value those around you. And, there are people that you really shouldn't be around. There are people you should be around. Just asking God to kind of like guide me through that process and try to understand who I am. So just want to say thank you. It's good to be back. I definitely miss you guys, but I needed that time to really, you know, just have some time to myself and try to kind of figure out this podcast and what am I doing with it and how do I want it to go. There's been some few changes in my life. You guys, as you know, a few months ago, I did change my schedule and I was hoping that it was going to be best, but then it didn't turn out to be the best. So I've gone back to the old place that I used to be because that schedule fits me well. So, um, actually, by September, this podcast is going to be, 1 year, September 29th. Definitely going to be 1 year. And I'm really revamping and setting up. some few things. I know I've been saying that, but it hasn't really come to fruition. But coming up to the year, I'm hoping starting next month, if all goes well, I want to change the show time to 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. US time. So that is my plan. Hopefully that will pan out. I don't know the exact date yet because I'm just transitioning back to my old schedule, which means I will have my weekends all to myself. So I can definitely do that. And that would leave room with if I have if I'm starting the show early, then I can bring people on. There are a few people who reach out to me who are really, really interested in joining the podcast and us really jumping into other topics, especially people who are experts in certain topics. So, yeah, I'm hoping hopefully by 3 p.m., 2:30, 3 p.m. ish, hopefully sometime next month. By the end of the month, I should know exactly when. And then most of my topic will probably be pre-written, where I will really have conversation with the individuals that will come on before I do them. But definitely taking these 3 weeks definitely gave me uh, a different perspective and just understanding people and my life and just spending time with my family and trying to understand what's really important, you know? So, with that being said, this is a new Felicia, but the old Felicia, but different in a way. Definitely appreciate you guys. There are quite a few people too that I think was on here that lost their family members, and just wanted to send my condolences to you guys. Definitely not an easy thing. My aunt is definitely going through it. I don't think I would have fully understand what death is if I didn't have children, because looking at my aunt and just seeing her how she was in such a pain, there's no amount of words that you can really tell someone who's grieving their child, and that's the part that really hit me so hard. So just want to say, uh, still keep them in your prayers in your little quiet time. And I think I definitely do have a purpose here, and taking this time definitely give me some. If you're looking, you're a little bit chubby. Yes, I've been I've been stress eating or grief eating, whatever you want to call it. But again, I know myself, I'm very easy to lose weight, so I'm not that worried about it. But yeah, welcome to the show. Tonight, we're going to be talking about, um, sorry, I saw a message that I was reading. Today, we're talking about strategic communication within your relationship. You guys, today somebody kind of like DM me and they were like, do you think your target audience understand what strategic communication is? And I'm like, it's just a word, but I don't want to like, they're like, maybe I should use a different verbiage that's more appealing to you guys. So let me know. My audience is actually not just people from Liberia. I have other colleagues and people out here that actually watch this show. So yes, it's majority of you guys watching my show from Liberia, yes. But just to answer that person, I don't want this podcast to just be limited to people in Liberia. So I want it to be kind of like generous so everybody can actually understand. If you don't know what strategic communication is, we're going to dive deep into it. And if you're interested and you would like to join the show, the link is pinned in the comment section. I would like you to join and we can talk about it. Okay? All right. So, as always, I got 10 minutes. I got 10 minutes. So, I'm going to share the show. You guys, please, 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 I'm begging you. If you're not following Let's Talk with Miss Fee, on Facebook, please go and follow it. I need to hit 100 follow before I can actually stream now due to Facebook new community restrictions. You got to have at least 100 follows or 100 friends in order to go live. So please, if you can help me with that, if you know your friends or anybody, share the page and let them actually follow. So that way we can stream live there as well. But as this live is going on, I'm going to mention it in the comment section so that these can show up there as well. Okay. All right. So, you guys, what is something amazing that you did for someone or someone did for you this past week? Let's go. Why I shared. Talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. Let's go. We could share the show and then we're going to dive into. So, disclaimer, I am not a relationship expert. I am just here to share my opinion on topics that I think is interesting and thought provoking to make you think and really, get yourself, in a group of things. So, let's share the show, you guys. And even though my topic says relationship, I try to, now I'm trying to see how best I can really keep the relationship thing kind of general so that way people don't feel left out because relationship could be with your family, your parents, and things like that. You know, so don't feel like you have to be married or to be free to be able to communicate. So let's set it up and then share it. I'm gonna share. I'm going to share the show. So we gotta put all our hashtag to get the play more, and we're about to share the show. If you're watching, please comment where you're watching from and what are your thoughts on the topic. Let's go, let's go, let's go. So today we're gonna talk about learning things. Relationship, communication. You guys talk to me. What is something amazing you did this week for somebody? So I would say I didn't do anything amazing. Well, in my opinion, I didn't really do anything amazing for anyone. Not that I think was amazing. I think I just do everything generally. But so you guys, um, so this week obviously is gonna be at work because that's where I spend majority of my time. Um, sorry guys. All right, so say that, and then let's share, let's share, let's share. You guys, this week, if you watch, my little daughter and I, we actually, um, we went and she wanted to go live, y'all. That little girl, she something. She keeps me laughing all day. But oh, I thought they actually changed the whole process of sharing. Is it gone back? I thought before you actually pick about four to share. Now they change it. Change it back. So we're gonna share. I have about 4 minutes, so let's see how fast I can share this to other groups um, before we get started. What have you guys been doing so far? You guys actually, can you guys share how do you think I can improve this show? Share in the comment section. I am open for discussion. Uh, sharing the show. So, what did somebody do for me? So, going back to my still in the same field, still the same position, but transferring back to the old company we had a contract with. Um, there's a new contractor taking over, and we're just going through the courses the past week, and they're very organized actually. And the person that's actually teaching the course, I've learned so much the past week from them. And you know as a leader or as a manager in any aspect of your life, I feel like the traditional way of managing and leading has really crippled a lot of leaders. And the past week, just going to that seminar for training and learning things from the gentleman that was actually leading the course, it was absolutely breathtaking. I learned so much um, about how words have power. You know how you guys, I'm still sharing the show, so I have about 2 minutes before we get started. So just doing small talk with y'all because I can't just be here and three people be looking at me. Nah, we can't do that. We gotta share the show. I hope y'all sharing the show. Y'all share the show. I don't even ask you guys for much. I don't ask you guys. I don't be on here and be like, send me stars. Y'all send me a star. Even though I appreciate it. Definitely all the stars everybody's been sending me. I haven't cashed nothing out yet. I'm keeping them because I want to donate it to charity. So please, 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 if you feel generous and you want to send me star, please do. Um, but yeah, I just got done sharing the show. I think I did a good job sharing. I share, and it looks like Hubby actually did share as well. So that's good. Thanks for sharing it. Um, so what did I learn about? It's literally almost 9 o'clock. What did I learn from this seminar? You know how words, people always, there's this golden rules, right? There's this golden rules we're all used to where it says treat people how you want to be treated. Have you guys ever think about that? Treat people how you want to be treated. This week, this past week, I learned it is 9 o'clock. I learned the platinum rules. I cannot believe I didn't know anything about the platinum rules. Do you know what the platinum rule is? Treat people how they want to be treated, not how you want to be treated, right? Why would I treat you how I want to be treated? So, for example, if you like flowers and I like chocolate, why would I buy you chocolate? Why would I buy you chocolate? I need to buy you flowers because that's what you like. If you like me to talk to you in a disrespectful way, that's not a really good example, which I wouldn't do, but some people like to be talked to in a rough way. And if you're talking to them calmly and being gentle, they might not understand it. So I'll tell you guys, go and read on the Platinum Rules. That was something amazing that that gentleman did for me this week because it literally revamped how I really think about life. You know, I want to be treated nicely. I want people to be honest with me. Some people don't like people to be honest with them because they're dishonest. They're dishonest people. Does that mean you should? Not really. But if that's how they want to be treated, being honest to them doesn't even mean a thing to them. But anyways, that's another topic for another time. Just wanted to share that since you guys, all three people watching and y'all are all quiet. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. So tonight we are talking about how does strategic strategic the words. I can't even talk. Strategic communications. How does that benefit your relationships? You guys ever thought about that? You know, some people might call it manipulations, right? But instead of you calling it manipulation, why not call it strategic? And we're gonna try to understand what strategic communication is first before we talk about its benefits. Okay. So join me. I have all my notes on my phone, you guys. So we're gonna go into that. What's up? How you doing? Yeah, please share the show. Invite your friends, invite your mama, tell them, your cousin, Felicia, sister, brother, whatever I am, whatever you want me to be, I am watching. So I'm live, honey. I'm live. So please share the show. Invite everybody. There's three people. Shout out to the three people watching. Thank you for always supporting. It is a blessing to stay before you guys because it has been quite a few of 3 weeks for me. So, so first, I'm going to read the definition of what strategic communication is. Uh, and then we're going to dive into how does that fit into your relationship? How does that really help you? How does that help you? How does that help? Let's see. No, you guys, I have about 3 definitions, and I feel like most relationship, we all go through it. Sometimes you feel like somebody don't understand you. You think the person, especially us women, we're very fond of nagging, complaining. Like, oh my gosh, you're not taking the trash out. You're not cleaning. Every time I clean this, you're like messing it up. Every time I move the table, I don't like you to put your dirty socks over there. I don't like you to put the towels over there. You brush your teeth, you leave all the things over there. How do you communicate strategically to help you to really, eliminate all those little small talk that causes problem, and then people start to label you? Let's jump into it. I think that's why somebody was like, do you know your target audience? I definitely do know my target audience for the person that messaged me. As much as I want this to be helpful, to be pointed out to the Liberian community, I also wanted to help everybody else. I want everybody to be able to relate to it and not just make it a discussion just limited to Liberian community. Okay? All right. All right. Who's calling me now? Who is calling me? Don't call me, please. Yeah. I had to let this call pass. Oh my goodness. All right. So jumping to it. Mhm. So, what is strategic communication? Strategic communication is communicating the strategy. The sh- is a strat. I don't even want to use that. Let's use another. I don't want to use that. So, what is strategic communication? Is basically a communication that is planned. I know you're like, what? Yeah, it's something that you plan. So basically, you think, you try to study, you put your thoughts together, you gather what you're going to say before you say it. So, what does planning means? Planning means you're selective. Like you select what is your main idea. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? For instance, if your partner is someone who likes to leave the towels on, wet towels anywhere, or dirty socks anywhere, you have to plan how you're going to get your point across instead of you being like angry and being emotional to communicate that. So, how do we do that? If you leave the socks right there and you got to come up with a plan. You can't always just say, oh, you always like this, you're sloppy, you're leaving this here and you're doing that. You can't do that because then what is your goal? Is your goal to complain, or is your goal to actually get that individual to stop that habit? That's why strategic communication is a plan. You make a plan. And tonight's topic is, how does strategic communication benefits relationship? There's a lot of benefits in that. And we're going to jump into that. But first, I wanted us to understand what is strategic communication. Because my phone keep going down. So by plan, it basically means being selected, like selecting a message, a main idea. What do you want to send to a specific target? Like we use the example as your partner having dirty socks. I use that one because that's like the most common. Everybody complaining about that. He always put his dirty socks over there. But if your partner is somebody who come from out and just leave the shoes right there, let's just say your partner works in construction, right? And has uses socks and his, we all know. I just want to paint a picture in your head, and he leaves the socks, he or she, whosoever, now women do construction work too. So leave their shoes right there because one, they're like, I'm tired, got home, just want to leave my shoes and my socks right there, go take a bath. And then when I come back, maybe I'll do it. If not, they forget to do that. So how do you handle that? You can't just always come and just be complaining. Your shoe stinks, your socks stinks, you just leave it right there, blah 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 blah, and just carry on, which is something that we women, we are very fond of, because and we would end up doing it, but then we'd like to complain. But that doesn't really help a relationship. And this is how your husband, your partner, however you refer to your partner, start to complain and start to say, this woman nags a lot. And it might be annoying to that person because you're not really getting any point across. All you're doing is just complaining. So a strategic communication is having an idea, a target point. What do you want to get across? Also, you need to achieve a specific goal. You can't just talk and not achieve anything, because you just nagging doesn't solve the problem. You need to be able to come up with a plan. Maybe your partner is someone who likes for you to talk to them when they're more calmer, right? Maybe they like soft spoken, or maybe there's some type of mood that they will be in when you can talk. That's just where observing and trying to understand your partner is very key into that. Even your brother, let's say you live with your parents or you live with your brothers or your sisters, and you guys always get into it because either they're on your case or you're on their case about not doing something, and now you need them to get something done, right? Your goal is to have that situation solved and not just, like keep talking about it and nothing comes out of it. You're just giving yourself a headache. So that is what strategic communication is. Is a plan. You have a goal, there's a target, and you want to achieve something. So that's what that means, strategic communication. So how do we do that? How does it benefit your relationship, right? It's self-esteem, you guys. So let's go to my other no. I didn't want to give you the other definition because it's more about, it tells you more about like job and being a managers and things like that. Um, so most of our relationship in the African community, maybe that's why this person DM me and say, "What? Who is your target audience?" We tend to talk to other people about problems that we are having in our homes instead of actually talking to the individuals that we are with. So there are about 5 tips about how strategic communication can help our relationship. One, let's say you're in a relationship. Most of the things, I'm just going to discuss most of the things that we've talked about on this show that most of the gentlemen that was on the show before stated about, women holding back, you know, let's say you want to be more intimate with your partner and your partner feel like they're tired and they don't want to be part of that, or financially you guys want to talk about how to save some money, you know just talk about that. You want to save money, or let's just say one person in the relationship wants to have more children and the other person don't want to. How does that help your relationship? One, I feel like if you are strategic and you know how to target, it eliminates all the other small talk and all the other things, because relationship in general, you're going through so much. You have, especially if you have children to target, to take care of, you have a home to maintain, and majority of the home, both parents, mom, dad is working. You have to plan to take the kids to school. You need to be able to do that. So it's so overwhelming and so tiring. How do you handle that and still maintain your relationship, especially with outside source? Some people can maintain their attraction for their partner, and there's a whole lot going on, and people start to complain, you don't have time for me, you care for this person. And I remember there was a young lady that I talked to. I think she and her husband just had their kids, and she was talking about how her husband feels like he does not want to have any more children. They just have one. He does not want to have any more children because she doesn't have time for him. And she's like, he just gets mad, so he stays late to work, he's on his phone when he's around. That's kind of like you throwing tantrums. And this is why, if you're strategic about communicating, the other person on the receiving ends can understand you more, instead of it coming up as like an argument or something that just doesn't make sense for you guys. So let's jump into it's a where's that one? No, let's go to it. So how geez, I keep closing. don't close. So some tips for strategically communicating your needs in your relationship. You guys type in the comment section. Help your girl out. So it says, one, be open. Be open, which is kind of like try to understand, be open minded. It's not just black and white. There's always a gray area in everything in life. So, be open. How can you be open? Express your emotions and needs openly. You can use I statement. Like, I feel like you could do a little bit more um, helping out with the children, or I feel like, um, how do I put it? I feel like you could, when you come home, it would be more helpful if you don't leave your shoes over there and you start to give good reasoning. And I think, uh, you guys, I'm going back to this example because the example with the shoes, like your partner coming home and leaving the shoes to the door and leaving the socks there. Instead of you doing it in the heat of a moment, especially when you know that it's annoying to you, instead of you saying like, I feel like you don't listen to me when I say don't leave your shoes over there. I feel like, you know there's something we could do more to increase our sanitation, because when you come from out, you leave your shoes right there, the socks is right there. I feel like you're not supporting me in making sure we maintain our home, instead of you saying like, every day I come here, I clean this, I do this. And you guys, I am so guilty of that, but I'm working on myself. I'm a work in progress. I'm working along with you guys. I am a big work in progress, but that's why I said recently I've learned so many things. So it's like, instead of you saying, I come here, I do this, I do that, I still work, I cook, I clean, I take care of the kids, all those, you're saying so much, but it's not really going anywhere. It's not resonating with the person that you're trying to get it to. And the same thing with your children as well. If you have children, instead of you just yelling at them, try to understand who the individual is, understand their style of communication, what works for them. Some people, the whole works for them, and some people, it doesn't matter how many times you say it, they're not going to listen. But maybe when you're in your little quiet time, right, when you're in your little quiet time where it's just both of you guys, whatever time it is, you're sitting and you're relaxing and everybody is vulnerable in that moment, is when you actually communicate and be expressive, say, I just feel like you could be more helpful to me. And when the person give you an answer, try to not be, defensive, because, and don't make it out of a conflict. That's why you have to have a plan. That's why you have to be strategic. You have to be, in a way, some people might call it manipulative, but I don't think it's that. That's why I call it strategic planning. Because if you plan and your target is to get that person to understand your feelings and what you're going through in that moment, I think that's really helpful as well. So using I statement to share your feelings without causing defensiveness or conflict. Also, when you state what it is you're feeling. Hey, welcome to the show, Prince. Thank you for watching. Mm. Right. River says Pro says, hi, River says, thank you. Thank you. Um, welcome back. It's good to see you back. Yeah, and that's something I complain about too. He says, River says Pro says, wifey complain about the bathroom floor being wet. Definitely, that's something that irks women a lot, or leaving the toilet seat up. That's my big pet peeves, and it's not fair. It's kind of like I had to sit and think about it. Who really came up with the rules that when the toilet seat should always be down? When men after men use it, right? So instead of, and yeah, it's annoying because we're a human being. You're like, I keep doing this and it's not working. But the goal is for you to be able to get your point across and really get that individual to understand where you're coming from. So instead of you like complaining and just, just yelling, you're gonna come back to the same thing and you're just gonna give yourself headaches. So the best thing is to just sit, breathe. Even though it's annoying, you leave it there. Leave it there and just think in your mind and be like, okay, how how can I communicate this to him or her for her to understand that this really bothered me and this could literally be, and I honestly feel like this is where people come with deal breakers. This is where some, and I'm describing these little things, but sometimes these are the little things that really lead to people, breaking up, especially if you're in the courtship where you're living together and you're in the process of getting married, which, you know, and some people see it and they're like, no, I can't deal with this. What? Or it's somebody who spent a lot of money. You have to come up with a plan. If this is somebody that you see yourself with, this is something that you have to come up with. Princess says she's following from Liberia. Thank you for watching. Appreciate you. This is when you have to really sit and think about it and be like, okay, how can I tell him or her that this is something that really bother me? And your plan is to really be able to um, accomplish something, not just complain. So the first thing is being open minded, because no matter how you say certain things to some people, it's gonna be, people have their opinions. Somebody's going to be able to still say what it is they feel. So you need to not be defensive. You need to understand them as well. So strategically, that's why you have to sit and really plan. Okay, if I told, let's just say we're gonna use River Says Pro about the bathroom floor is always wet when he showered, right? And that's one of my things too. I feel like my husband does the same thing. We get into it all the time. But I think it's a man thing. How do you come up with that plan? It's like, okay, if I tell him, he's gonna be like, um, so try to create so many scenarios in your mind how the person is going to react and how they're going to. So that prepares you to kind of like just understand the conversation from a different angles. Um, River says, Pro say, I don't think there should be rules or boundaries regarding some of these issues mentioned. What if the husband was heavy duty mechanic who always comes home with greasy work clothes, shoes, but the job is what pays the bill? Absolutely, right? So this is where I feel like strategic planning comes in, right? So if that's someone who does that type of job, right? Maybe there's a conversation where something is set up to the door, and then I was just using the socks and the thing as an example because that's what most people complain about, right? So maybe the wife can talk to the husband and say, honey, I understand the shoe sense, create some type of things to have that communication. If that's something that bother, what if that's something, yes, it pays the bill, but it also bothers your partner? That's something that you can talk about to solve that problem. But I definitely see where you're coming from. For me, my husband is in the logistics business, right? So if he comes home and his shoes smell, there's something that I have to create at the door, especially the closet right to the door, right? Maybe create that and then say, hey, here's a hamper. You can put your clothes right there and then come back and have like a sanitizing spray where you spray that area. So everybody kind of like win in that way, right? But everybody has to make each other comfortable because, yeah, it pays the bills. So Does that justify so my feelings don't count? Is that what you're saying, River Sis? So the first point is be open. Always know that if you're communicating something, you're the one who on the receiving end. You want something to get done. So you have to come up with a plan and be open and create so many scenarios in your mind so that way that person don't you're prepared with whatever that comes, okay? The other second part, which I feel like most of us are not really great at, is listening, especially when something, that's why you can't talk about things when you're not in the best mood, right? Because if you're not in the mood and you're talking about something, you're not listening. You just be talking and talking. And at the end of the day, you're not accomplishing anything. So the key to that is listening. Try to understand your partner instead of focusing on judgment. Don't judge. We're very quick on, oh, you're so this way. As I know, us women, we are very quick to call names. You're very this. You guys, I'm only focusing on women because I am a woman and I can relate to this topic a lot. So that's why I'm focusing on women. But I know men as well. There are some men who are very consider, for lack of a better word, neat freak, and they like things to be certain way, and the woman is more lax, like she's relaxed. She doesn't care if things are all over. She's okay with that. But majority of the time, women are the one on that side. That's why I'm paying saying this. Listening is one of those key attributes that I feel like whoever masters it masters everything in life. Like if you can listen without actually saying a word and just hear that person out after you strategically, after you've stated your point, sit and just listen to what how this person feel as well. That's how I feel like you can really get things done that you need to get done. Listen, try to understand your partner instead of focusing on judgment. Practicing active listening, which can lead to, oh, you guys, my notes, um, which can lead to more satisfying interactions. So if you're listening and you're not just, especially when it just happened, that's not a plan. Don't make a plan to talk about it. Some people like to handle their issues right there and then, but I feel like if this is something that you're really trying to accomplish and you're trying to get somebody to really listen to you and not and get the issue resolved, you need to listen and not pass judgment. Don't be like, well, I feel like you're very dirty. I mean, how are you going to accomplish that? Calling that person that. I feel like you just don't care. How do you know they don't care? Maybe that's something that's been with them for a while and it's going to take time for them to actually get accustomed to how you do things. Like, for instance, I'll talk about like the toilet seats. So I'm so guilty on this one, you guys. So my husband, when he used the bathroom and he forgets and leave the seats up, I'm like, when I go in the bathroom, why can't I? So the other day I was like, why do I expect him to do that? Why don't I to lift up the seat, or why don't you know? I was just thinking about it um so when he leaves the seat up, it's like I get so mad because at night I'm coming to sit and then I falls in the toilet and it's like maybe I should be considerate as well. I should be thinking that okay, if he used the bathroom, there's a man in here that's gonna use the bathroom and lift it up too. So the expectation should be on both ends. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. Hey, all right. Somebody's following along. You're up late tonight, man. All my LIB people are following along. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys. So instead of me passing judgment like I used to do, now I try to be more calm about it and try to be considerate. Because if you start to communicate, right, right, that's another thing too, right? So River Says Pro said, what if I was in previous relationship where the woman didn't complain about the things? How can the new nagging woman help to babysit me in a way she wants? So and that's another thing too. You guys, I'm just gonna try to do this as yes, so that way my face is kind of like in there. So so everybody is different, right? There's individual differences. If your previous relationship that didn't bother that person, obviously like that wasn't a problem. But then now you're in a new relationship and this person really don't like those habits. I'm just gonna call it habits, right? And it's something that it's kind of like bothering and it's funny, right, you guys? Some of these things we're talking about it, but um most modern relationship are actually breaking up because of some of these things. Yeah, it sounds petty, but it's like, you know, can I live like this forever? You know, you hear this from people like, this is something I cannot live with forever. So I don't want to even be part of this. But that's why I said strategically, like coming up with a plan, because you know, this is a habit. Habits is not something like somebody just pick up today and then they're like doing it. This is something that's been built into an individual and they're used to it. It was never the problem. Nobody's ever complained about it. But then now you're complaining about it, and then your partner probably thinking like, okay, you're just complaining. You're just somebody who just likes problem. So how can that person do it? That's why I said being open minded, because your goal is not to just be nagging and not accomplishing anything, because that means that entire relationship you're going to be nagging about the same thing over and over, which is not very helpful for the growth of your relationship. That means both of you guys, the man's going to be dreading to come home. You yourself will feel unease because you can't really, is like once the person walks through the door, that's what they're hearing. Nobody wants to walk in their home and all they're hearing is you complaining about something that is like, okay, that's who I am. Take me as I am. If you don't like me, that's what it is. But if that's something that's like bothering you and that's a relationship that you're really trying to nurture and really grow, that's why you have to be open minded. And if your plan is to kind of like change that individual or influence them to do things a little bit differently, that's where these tips comes in. You have to be open minded. You have to be able to listen. What is the issue? For instance, like the water, maybe it's something as simple as maybe the man or woman do not know how to put the bathroom insert, which is something you guys, I'm going to use my husband as an example. Because when he gets in the bathroom, he just gets in and just pull the curtain, the bathroom, curtain, and just jump in, which and the water end up coming in. But the best way to do it is maybe, you know, um, I noticed that the water keep pouring over here when you take a bath. How come when I take a bath that doesn't happen? Do you maybe you're not pulling the things? I mean, the conversation could be as easy as that, like what it is that's happening. That do you think what's happening that you're when you take a bath, water is over there, or when you eat when you brush your teeth you leave the toothpicks all over there? Are you rushing? Is there something come up with a way how you think your partner is going to accept the information easily. Of course, you should know your partner, how they accept information easily. If you don't know, then you need to study them. What is the best time or best mood to actually have those conversations? Because once you know that, then you can plan how to get that point across. Because if it's just because he's not pulling the curtain to the bathroom, the shower curtain, he's not pulling it there properly, maybe you can politely show him, oh, babe, it's a simple thing. Maybe you're just not pulling it right. You could, when you're taking a bath, you could probably just do it this way. There's a magnet over here. You can just, push it over there and put it over there. That will help, getting the water all on the floor. and then that could cause slip and fall for somebody who's coming in. It could be as simple as that, right? But instead, us women, we feel like if we complain, then you're gonna hear it. So a few years ago, I think I shared on the show before that I like to watch Divorce Court when Judge Len Toller was like the person leading that show. The reason is because she gives so many advices on relationship and young marriages, how to really get it going. And in her courthouse, you rarely ever see her actually getting people ever getting divorced because they come in there and she really pushed them on how to get things done. And I remember one of her statements. She said when she first got married, her husband had about five, I think five children, if I'm not mistaken. And she didn't have any children, and they were all boys. I think, no, not five, three children. And then she had two or three with him. So when she had those babies, her husband, when she asked him to do something, he'll just be like, yeah, yeah, I got it. I'll be there. And then he'll sit there, watch movies, and then she'll end up doing it. And then one day she said when she went to go talk to her mom, she's like, I don't understand. It's like this relationship is not gonna work. I have all these kids, I'm cooking, I'm a lawyer, and I'm doing this and doing that. And he just sits there and he doesn't help me. And then she said her mom said, how are you asking? She's like, what do you mean, how am I asking? He sees me clearly. He should be able to help me out, but he's not helping. She's like, no, it's the way how you're asking. You're nagging, you're complaining, and you're not asking and waiting for him to get it done. You're asking and then going back and doing it. She's like, okay. So her mom told her, when you go home, when you ask him to do something, don't do it. Just leave it. Let him know that he has to do it. But if you ask him to do it and you keep complaining, the more he's going to sit there and not do it. So I just say this because we like to complain about the same thing over and over. We women, you guys, we like to complain about the same thing over. And that takes away those little moments that you could actually spend with your partner to work on that. Research Pro says, why do you think more women care about those habits than men? Is it more a mental issue? Should we say women are less tolerant and impatient than men? No, no. I believe women, we discussed on this show before, women were built as nurturer and homemaker by nature. I don't care what anybody says. No, that's not a woman role or whatsoever. To each their own. But I believe that women, we are naturally built as homemaker. And if you guys don't understand what a homemaker is, we take care of our homes. And if somebody comes to my house, they're not gonna say we came to my husband's house. They're gonna say we went to Felicia's house. So we already carry that title. So we feel the need to always have everything neat and everything, put together, and we want to keep our family safe. And we're more aware about how things are run domestically when it comes into the home and how to keep it together. So we care more about that. You men, in my opinion, men are built in a way to just provide the resource and we take care of it to maintain it. And if we can't maintain those resources that are provided to us, that's more money spent out of a man's pocket. So we're more caring about that because naturally that's just who we are. I don't think it's just because men are less tolerant or impatient. And sometimes, too, yeah, some women can be impatient based on how they were raised and things like that. If you notice, I have actually started to notice the different way how I actually mother my children. I have a boy and a girl, and the expectations that I have for my daughter, not that I'm giving her more expectation, but it's like he's being trained in another way to be a man and be a leader. She's also being trained in another way. Trained, I don't like that word. They're being nurtured in a way how his role as a man is supposed to be, and she's being nurtured in a way differently, but kind of like the same. It's the same value and the same standards, but just a little bit different. I noticed with both of my kids, like my daughter, she plays with a baby doll, right? And you'll see her mostly talking about, "Oh, baby, are you hungry? Do you want to eat? Okay, mommy's here." Like she's one and she already knows how to do this compared to my son. I mean, I feel like without him even watching anything, he automatically know he has to fix the his cars and things like that. So I think naturally how we are built, that is just how, like, our importance of things in the home is different from the importance of things for men. So yes, it could be because women are more tolerant, but I feel like some women are more patient than some are based on like their environment and how they're raised. But I just think we just care about those habits because our goal and how we're built is to maintain the home. And if we can maintain those resources that are being provided to us, how can we keep a home? And I think that's why we care so much, right? I don't know if that answered your question, Sister. But if anybody else wants to answer, the question is right there. You can go ahead and answer. Um, let's go back to the show. Yeah, definitely. Um, I don't know if, well, some men are patient too, but there are some men who aren't patient. I will tell you that for sure. Some men are not patient. So the second thing that we have on our list, what are some tips to strategically communicate your needs in marriages or relationship in general? Listen, basically listen said under that note said, try to understand your partner instead of focusing on judgment. Practice active listening. That is actually a book that somebody on here, I think Emmanuel um had recommended to me, and I purchased that book. I actually read it. Very, very good book. um very, very good book, active listening, because I feel like a lot of people lack that, and that's why it affects them so much in their personal work and everyday life, because people don't know how to actively listen, you know, but which can lead to more satisfying interactions. So if you're listening and you with that for that person to actually express themselves and get what they want to get across, then you can actually respond back appropriately to what it is they're asking for. What is the third one? The third one is choosing the right moment. Do not Somebody can just walk through the door. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what the world had given them. And then you just like, psh, and it's like, wow, how inconsiderate can you be? Like you don't know if that person was coming in, they had a near death experience, and their body is shaking, and they're probably going through their emotions, or their job, the boss has said something to them. You don't know what people are going through in general, and they walk in the door and you're ready to just leash it out. Like, you know what? You do this all the time. Da, 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 da. Why do you do that? Da, da, da. Don't even wait to say hello. How you doing? How was your day? you know pick the right moment to actually and it doesn't really have to be your spouse. This could be your siblings, there could be your children. They not tell you to clean your room today. You don't know what they went through at school, at work. There's a whole lot going on in the world. So picking that moment, being strategic about it, because remember, strategic communication is about getting a plan and achieving something out of what it is you're talking about, not just, lashing out and just saying stuff just because you want to say it, right? So, choosing the right moment, pick a calm, quiet time when both of you are free from stress or distractions. Your kids can be there, everything's commotions going on, and da da da. I remember When I was growing up, a little bit, in the 2000s, you used to hear a lot of things about pillow talks. Nowadays, you don't really hear a lot about relationship and people talking about pillow talks. You know, I just feel like when I was growing up, that was something, we used to hear a lot, even though I was little to hear about this topic. But that was stuff that I used to hear from, and most of the people that I consider friends or that I hang out with are people beyond my years, people that are older than me. So from a very young age, all my friends are people that I consider a mentor, has been very, very older than me. Even people within my age groups are always older than me, and I always like to keep people around that I can learn something from. So pillow talks is kind of like, coming up with a plan, making sure you have that time, because you can't just come home and then you're just dealing with your kids and before you know it's time to go sleep. No, this is why you should have some type of structures, especially if you have kids or things like that. You should have a structure and a plan that, the kids, okay guys, you come home, you do this, you eat and da da da. So you have at least, you can't spend your entire day at work and then you come home, all you do is just take a bath and go to bed. I feel like that's some of the things that are really killing relationship in the 21st century, because people are not creating that time to really have those meaningful conversations. um, if you pick the time correctly, like just said, Monday through Friday is a hectic week for your home. Maybe somebody work night shifts, somebody work day shifts. If you're doing that, somebody always have a day off. Maybe that day off is when you can really sit down and regroup and reconnect and have a conversation. But during that time, that's when you have to come up with a plan also to make sure things are done, where you guys can kind of like just have a heart to heart and just have that conversation. Disclaimer, I am not a relationship coach. I'm just here to share my opinion on things that I know. So, choosing the right moment, pick a calm, quiet time when both of you are free from stress. Not when the person just came from work, you don't know they're stressed out, their goal is just to come home and not hear a pin. Pick the moment. Maybe during the week, Monday through Friday is too busy that you can't really talk about it. Hold it in, swallow that hard pill. You don't have to talk about it. Maybe you have to put it there. Some people, maybe you have to do certain things and you go and clean it and you quietly don't say anything. People have conscience. They will feel bad. And if that person don't have conscience, that's where strategic communication comes in, where you have to understand your partner's style of communication. Maybe they like calmer, or maybe when you guys are happy and laughing about something, then you can politely bring up the conversation, but definitely not when you're angry and not when that person just came from work or they're angry as well. You're not going to get point across. And this comes to the same thing when you both are angry with each other and you're arguing. Somebody needs to be mature enough to be like, why are we even doing that? Can we stop that? Can we take a minute? Can we talk about that another time? Like somebody in that relationship needs to be able to do that, because if you can't do that, then you're always going to have problems, and then it's going to lead to another broken home. And you don't want to do that. Maybe your partner is someone who likes to pray, right? Maybe after he or she prays, they're in a calmer mode. That's why you have to be observant of your environment, which includes your partner, your whoever lives in that environment. You need to be able to, even if it is your friend. Maybe you have a friend that you're having problem with, and they keep doing certain things to you that you don't like. There's a way how you can communicate that. Okay, so the fourth thing that you can do to help to strategically communicate in your relationship is be empathetic. You know, this week I had asked my team to tell me what is empathy and sympathy. What is the difference between that? Because I feel like sometimes people confuse that, right? Um, you can feel empathy for me because you have experienced what I've experienced before. right? You can be sympathetic. Oh, look who's joining, Miss Anna.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Sorry, I'm joining late. I had a
It's
guest.
okay. You came at the right time.
Um,
What's up? How are you?
I'm okay. Mommy,
All
what's going
right, so
ding, ding,
good.
ding,
So
ding,
tonight we're talking about
ding,
strategic
ding, ding,
communication. I'm
ding,
just sharing some tips with everybody. We're on the part where it's about being empathetic. Um,
ding.
so basically, already defined. Let me just run you through really quick, you guys. Sorry. So basically, just talk about define what strategic communication is. Like basically having a plan and having a target achievement. Basically, you're not just going to be talking just to be saying things and you don't want to achieve anything. And we're specifically basing there on relationships. So being empathetic. Before you join on, I was just saying this week I asked my team, what is the difference between sympathy and empathy, right? And I feel like a lot of people confuse that most of the time. Being sympathetic, most people, I think, in my opinion, most people refer with if you lost someone, I sympathize with you, or if something happened to you, I sympathize with you. But it could happen in a relationship where before you join us, we were talking about where if somebody has a bad habit and they're dealing with that, and then the partner is trying to communicate instead of nagging, trying to figure a way how to communicate that needs in order to get that problem solved. So the difference between sympathy is basically I feel sorry for you. I'm sorry that you're going through this X, Y, and Z. Empathy is almost kind of like the same, but it's like, I'm sorry that you're going through that. And I can also relate to that issue that you're going through. Like, for instance, I lost my cousin, right? And somebody else lost their cousin or a family member. I can empathize with them because I know how that feel. Like I've had that feeling before. So in a relationship, some strategically communication style that you could do is being empathetic. Avoid criticism. Don't criticize someone. Blaming, which is something I feel like we're very fond of as women. Yeah, it's your fault. You always waste the water over there. You always leave the toilet seat up. You always, you know, being like I said earlier, I felt like I was being empathetic because it's kind of like I'm thinking like the expectation is for my husband to lift the toilet seat up and put it back down, to put the toilet seat back down when he used the restroom, right? But then I'm thinking like, okay, how does he feel if he comes and he has to use the bathroom? If he actually left it down, he could pee all in the toilet seat, but he always have to bend to lift it up in order to use it. So in that instance, I'm feeling empathetic and I understand, which if I was having that whoever says process, and thanks for this for the tips so far. They have been for adults. How about dealing with children and dirty dishes? Oh, I'm coming to that one. We're coming to that one. Some of the kids always cry when you try to keep it clean. Yes, yes. For me, I'm not at that level yet with the whole dishes yet. But we'll get to that. How to deal with your kids. So me feeling sorry, like having that conversation is like, babe, I understand that you have to lift the toilet seat up as well. I will do my best. When I'm done using the bathroom, I can lift it up. That way, when you're done, you put it down as well. So communicating that like that, it kind of helps. You guys, this is just as simple. You can come up with a better one.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, is today's topic is the difference between empathy or and
No.
sympathy, or is it how to strategically communicate?
Yes,
Okay.
strategically communicating. Those are some of the tips for communicating strategically.
Okay. So from what I learned, from
Mhm.
hearing you say, so basic strategic communication is like a purposeful communication, right? Where
Yes.
it's intentional, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
then
That
empathy and sympathy. Sympathy is basically feeling sorry for someone, and then empathy is basically putting someone, stop that, putting someone in else in your shoe, putting yourself in
yeah.
someone else's shoes. That's what I got
Yes.
from that.
Yes.
Okay.
So before you came on, I have like about 5 tips. So we were on empathy. That was some of the tips. So we had be open minded, like being open, express your emotions and
Mm-hmm.
needs openly, like using I feel like statement, kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
listening. Like
Mm-hmm.
listening was
Actively
the other one.
listening. Uh-huh.
Yeah, actively listening and not passing judgment, like knowing how to interact, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then the third one was choosing the right moment, like a calm moment, how to get your point across. And then, of course, the fourth one was being empathetic, avoiding criticism, being like blaming and being open to compromise and feedbacks, coming up with a plan. Like,
Yeah.
okay, honey, I know like before you came in, River Cesper was talking about some of the things that, women in general will complain about, like the water when men take a bath, the water's always everywhere. So coming up with a plan and a feedback, like definitely help on in that point. And then the last one was using non-verbal communications. Body language is definitely top
African
notch.
parents use a lot of non-verbal communication to communicate with
Right.
kids. And I think it's something that I have started doing with my kids.
Me
Like
too.
when they're doing something, I give them an eye. Like if I'll pop you if you don't stop.
Right.
Yeah, like I use that with them, and I think they understand now. But I think it's
Right.
something that is very effective in an African community, but I don't know much about like the Western culture, if they have a non-verbal way of communicating other than, oh, what they do, because even when you cross your hands, it's a way of saying don't come, don't talk to me, kind of like a closed off way of talking to someone. So
Right.
I think every culture has a way of communicating non-verbally. One
Yeah,
thing I
they
would like to
definitely
add,
do.
yeah, one
Yeah.
thing I'd like to add is that
Hmm.
effective communication or strategic communication is something that's important in every relationship, including adult being in an adult relationship or a father and son or father and children relationship. And I think it's something that adds purpose to how we interact with each other,
Right.
because if you don't have a purpose on why you're communicating, you will not have a goal at the end of the day. So
Right.
if I'm understanding what River Says Pro was saying, you don't have
Mhm.
to you don't have to sound rude to get your kids to do what the dishes.
Right.
You can you can read, there's a lot of redirection and having a boundaries when it comes,
Right.
what
Oh,
you
she's like,
can
I need mommy right now.
they always wait until when you have something important to do or you're on the phone
Oh
before they
yeah.
start making the weirdest noises. But anyways, what I was trying to say was that when dealing with children, you say, how about dealing with children and
Yeah.
dirty dishes? Some of the kids always cry when you try to keep it clean. Well, you have to. I don't want to say if your children are in America, if you're located in America, there's a way you can still get your kids to do things without coming off really rude and and demeaning, because children here are very sensitive. Brielle, stop what you're doing, please. Go put it in the trash quickly.
Yeah.
There's a way you communicate with children without having to be rude. You have to be
Right.
stern. You have to communicate with authority, but also with a soft tone where the kids don't feel like you're being a bully or you're being mean. Like,
Right.
for example, I mean, maybe not what I'm doing right now, but if, let's say, your child is doing something, give it to me. Let's say your child is touching what they're not supposed to touch. You tell
Mhm.
them, "Hey, Brielle, please go put the dish in the sink and wash it." And the child is doing the same thing and they're not stopping. You say it the second time. The third time, you say, "I asked you to put the dish in the sink." You're not being rude. You're just repeating what you're saying in a more stern manner, where the kid will know that this is an authority figure telling me what I need to do, right? So
Right.
in this case, with the dishes, you tell the child, "Go put it in the sink and wash it," without having to say. Sometimes you should use the word "please" too, because sometimes when you give them that sense of independence and sense of control, it teaches them that the right things to do for once.
Right.
Yeah. So in this sense, River says pro, if you have children who don't like doing the dishes, repetition is very important, but also setting boundaries and teaching them what is right. So even you need to also wash your dishes. If you have a wife and she's always the one washing the dishes, they may think it's a mom's duty to wash the dishes, right? But if you're
Mhm.
doing it too, they'll know. They're learning that, okay, if daddy is washing the dish, mommy is washing the dish, it means it's something that needs to be done. But
Right.
yeah, but just having
Yeah,
that purposeful communication and saying it over and over, it would teach them that it's something that needs to be done daily or repeatedly.
absolutely. I agree with you. And something I would just add to that, I think it depends on the age of the kids. It's something for me, I'm not really to that stage yet because my kids are really little, so I'm doing everything, but I am starting to teach them some type of independence, right? So I think some of the thing is we as parents, we don't really explain to the kids why washing the dishes is important, right? I think it all goes back to just having a talk with your children. If they're older or if it's something you just all of a sudden you're like, hey, you're the one doing the dishes. And it's like, why am I doing it? But it's something for me, I would say just in the beginning stages, sitting them down, why they contributing to the family is important, right? Like, hey, let's just say I'm gonna use my son. He's the oldest. So when he turns the age of 7, in my mind, I'm already strategically planning. By the time he turned the age of 7, I want him to be able to know how to make up his bed and be able to, wash a dishes, not fully, but me and him showing him how to wash it. And in that process of him doing that, he'll get accustomed to it. In my opinion, based on what I've read and understand, when he reached the age of 10, he will start to distinguish the difference between why certain choices are important. So in that process, now I'm going to tell him why it's important that he contributes to the family. Um, and I'm going to tell him, hey, mom do this because it's helpful for the family. Dad do this because it's helpful for the family. And then they don't feel like it's just something that you're beating on them to do, but they feel like they're also contributing to the family and helping as well. That's what I would say. But if let's just say you didn't do that and you're just telling them, hey, you got to wash the dishes, because remember, everybody wants to feel like they're like, kids don't want to feel like, how do I put it? Like, I feel like in our African community, we're always like, "You're gonna wash the t-shirt. Go wash that t-shirt. You wash that t-shirt, you'll see what will happen to you. You don't do this one." Da, 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 da." Instead of you talking at them, talk to them. Like sit them down. Again, I'm not relationship or even type of experts in any of these, but these are things that I feel like I have learned and I'm trying to incorporate it in my own life. Obviously, you don't know until you get there, but this is something that I'm thinking. I think the best way is sitting them down and actually getting them to understand why washing the dishes is important and how does it help the family in general. Because once somebody understand like they're contributing to something and their effort also matters, I feel like it kind of changed the whole idea of the task. And then also maybe create a allowance system, maybe not them thinking because they're washing the dishes that's what they're getting the money, but that's a way of you saying, oh, I really appreciate you stepping in, helping to do that. I appreciate you doing this. Here's a little token of that, but I don't want you to think you're doing that, but thank you for contributing. That really helped a lot. I think that helps and goes a long way. And I feel like your kids might feel like they want to do the dishes. So if you ask, and also I feel like if you also ask, don't try to force them, you know. Maybe give them a time frame like, hey, I need you to get this dishes done within this hour, and then just let them do it. Like, don't come back and you just told them go wash the dishes in like 2 minutes, and then you're like, didn't I tell you to go do that dishes? Go and do that dishes right now. It's like you're being more demanding than you're actually asking of an assistant. You know, they're also assisting and helping with tasks, in which I feel like you wouldn't feel okay if your wife or vice versa, you telling your wife to help you do something and then you don't give them a time frame and then you're coming back and screaming at them. Because remember, everything we learn and we do, again, we try to everything we as adult we start to incorporate as adult that we learn from little age. So I just feel like that would be my strategy of that. I agree with what Anna said as well, but that would be my strategy with that. What did you say? You said, don't you think you are being too soft on American children? In Liberia, my mother will hold a slipper or broom and I immediately fall in line. It makes me better person today. What do you think? You think that may I don't
I
agree
think
with
so.
that.
I agree with him because
No.
sometimes I'll be very honest. Sometimes
Mhm.
I hold a cane or ruler and tell my kids, if you don't do this, I will do this.
And I don't
Because
think that's the
sometimes
best way.
it may not be the best way, but it gets things done, and then you see that over time they teach their siblings not to do those things. If not, mommy's gonna do this. You don't have to
Right.
whip them or do hit them. Like, I don't beat my kids or anything, but I use it to, I don't want to say threaten, but to scare them off a
Redirect.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, to redirect them a little bit, because
Well,
sometimes
remember,
you
remember your
repeat
kids
yourself
are
so
very
many times.
little,
Yeah,
right?
you
Your
repeat
kids are
yourself.
little, they're still learning. So they're at the stage where yes, you have to use some type of strategy to get them to do things because right now there's so much going on in their mind and they're trying to pick which one is right and they're going to test, right? I
Yeah.
feel like they're in the testing stage. So they don't know anything unless whatever you're showing them, and they're going to I feel like yes, I experienced the same thing, River says Pro, but I feel like you create that fear system where you're not, remember the whole goal is to achieve something and then it becomes a habit of them, right?
Hmm.
So you're saying that, so then why do you get mad if your partner starts to nag and say, you're not doing this, right? Because everything we know, we learn it from little age, from a younger age. That means you're teaching them to cope. That's like a coping mechanism.
I
So
would
if
disagree with you on that. But go
I
ahead.
okay, but I feel like you're like telling them. So basically, if you're not home and you give them an instruction to get something done, they're physically waiting for you to be around to be able to get them to do that. Because I would say when I was growing up, The same strategy was used on me. So if my mom called me and say, "Oh, can you do this?" and I say, "Yeah, I'll do it." But as soon I know they're coming, that's when I'm reacting to try to get it done, and I don't do it the right way, and then they come back and beat me for it. So it's kind of like, yeah, that worked for that moment. And remember, we're in a different type of um centuries. Everybody's different. We're in a different type of setting, and like the generation had things are due. So again, you want to strategically get it done, even though that's another way that could work, and that was working. But then when they get older, and then you see
Doesn't
them
work
doing something,
anymore.
it doesn't work
Yeah.
anymore, right? So you want to install something that's going to last for a long term. So even if your kids know that, like, that's why I said, for right now, for our kids, that's going to work. But then you also still want to create a system that they
Mhm.
understand. I'll give you guys an example
So,
today, right?
mhm.
So today, my son Shiloh, he has ABC Mouse, and I have assignments for him to do, right? But he wanted to go on something else. So I can go on the iPad and disable whatever I need to do. And he does only those things on there that he can have access to. He got mad because he wanted to watch I don't know what on YouTube. And I blocked it, and he got mad. He took the iPad and threw it, right? Like, just threw it. And I'm just like, excuse me? Go. So I took the iPad from him. Okay, now you lost the privilege of having it. Go to the room. Because before, I will tell you guys, I will actually come and say, I'm going to spank you if you do it again. But I've realized, like, that doesn't work for him. Like, he feels like he'll just come and be like, okay, come and spank me. And then I will take it back. So now I'm learning him to understand that if I take it from him, put him in the room, close the door, he'll be there, he'll be crying, he'll figure it out. But then he knows that because it's me telling him, he will try to open the door to come out. But I learned this the other day when my husband was home. When he tell him, do not open that door, he didn't open the door. But when I said don't open the door, guess what? He opened the door to come outside. So then I had to figure out, call his dad. I was like, how did you tell him? He's like, you have to say and be very stern about it. So he went in there. When he came outside, it was time for him to come outside. I talked to him and I said, you cannot throw your iPad just because something didn't work. And I understand he's still trying to understand his whole emotion. He's only 4 years old. But I feel like that's where you start to really like put in the right type of behavior in them, because if when they get older, when you're not home, I would tell you, I was one of those kids. When my parents are not home and they tell me to do something, I am not doing it. I'm waiting. When they're about to come, that's when I'm gonna start rushing to do it, and it's not good. Then they come home, they're like, oh, you can't do anything good. No, it's not that I can't do anything good, because you have to be here to tell me what to do and beat me with the stick and tell me to do it, or threaten, or however way that works. But you're only doing it for the moment, and in my opinion, the goal is to make it prolonged so that when you're not there, when you say something, that volume speak louder.
Makes sense. I think you may be right about looking for less punitive ways of redirecting and correcting children. So I was going to add to what you said. Riva
Hmm.
says, "Pro, I don't think that when you don't beat your kids, it's a
Hmm.
soft approach. Every
Right.
child has way of corrections of punitive actions are different for every child, just like she mentioned about her son. Beating does not work for her son, but timeouts work for him. So you have to figure out what your children like the most and what they don't like, and what type of discipline strategy works for them. There are children that I have a sister that loves her phone.
Right.
Growing up, if you take her phone away, she would do whatever you need her to do correctly so that she can get her phone back. So over time, she realized that if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, my phone is going to get taken away. I have other sisters that just having a cane, knowing that you have a parent that is very strict and could possibly hit me if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, would cause them to do what they're supposed to do. So
Right.
just figure out what works for your children, and then and instill that. But one thing I'll say is that at some point you cannot hit the kids anymore. But
Right.
what you
I
need
mean,
to do is
spank. Use the
is
word spank.
yeah, spank. Sorry, spank
It's
your
okay.
kids.
Yeah.
Spanking your kids. So I would definitely say is that every child is different. Look for different corrective measures to help your children do what they're supposed to do. Now, um, using canes or slippers or whatever is something we use back home to instill fear in children so that they can forcefully respect you.
Right.
It was not something that was used to correct children in a way that it's forever. So I was saying earlier that I agree with that method in the sense for children who are a little bit younger, because it
Right.
teaches them, it builds them a little foundation so that over time you can learn to talk to them where they would understand, not something that you can use as a punitive measure forever. Because as time goes on, as the kids grow up, you would be the strength in which you will use to spank them would be a lot harder, and
Right.
could possibly hurt the child. So I would recommend finding something that works for the kids. If it means for you to take something that they like best to teach them what they need to do, or
Right.
just having a talk with them. I have a friend whose mom has never spanked her, but one thing her mom did was every time she did something wrong, her mom would take her out on a date and they'll have a talk. Her mom would list all the different things that she did. She always used to want to be like an adult, and her mom would talk with her and say, I didn't like what you did, this was not nice. Even when she was about 3 years old before she stopped breastfeeding, because her mom got pregnant for the second baby, and her mom took her out and had a conversation with her and told her, it's time for you to have a brother now. You're going to have to stop breastfeeding, like all the way until she got older. And even with her kids now, she has talks with them rather than beat them up. Like she would help them process things, talk to them repeatedly, and they listen. At first, they may not listen the first time, but she'll come back and redirect them. Redirection is something American children learn a lot. And just being positive when you're constantly saying, you can't do this. What kind of child are you?
Right.
It affects the children's self-esteem because they end up growing knowing that they're not good enough. In an African back home, in our community, we're used to the harsh life. So sometimes your parents can say, look at your big head, look at your this. You will not find it offensive because it's something that's like a norm, you know. But in America, where there's so many bullies and stuff, kids tend to internalize that and they grow up having those things in their mind. So you want to be mindful of how you're talking to your kids, because you don't want them going to school or somewhere else and someone says those things to them and they start believing what they're hearing. So,
Right. I'll I'll also add that, like the whole goal is for to create like an individual that will be, and the harsh life back home, not that is bad, but I would say it wasn't like the best way, because that I just feel like you're solving problem in the moment, and then in the long run you have bunch of individuals that are really going through life. Like right now I will tell you, everybody says, yeah, it was fine, I'm okay. But when you really dig deep and you really have conversation with people, they're not really reaching their full potential because of some of those things. And even though we can sit here and be like, oh, we we're okay. I would say I appreciate some of the tough time, because I feel like it prepares me for every different type of scenarios I have faced in my life. But is that really the best way? Like as people we become who uh, we raised to be, because you might be in a relationship with a woman that likes to be abusive, like she cusses and calls you out of your name. Where do you think she learned that from? Or vice versa, He said, isn't it logical to wash dishes? It is. But remember, they're children. That's what the Bible said. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child. You know, um, you you're placed as like, you guys, I'm gonna bring this all into like biblical way, but I feel like as parents, you're like the coach. You're put there as coach to coach them, to prepare them for the world ahead, right? So, yes, they should wash their own dishes, but that's what you're not pleading with them. Remember, they don't know the right thing to do. That's why I believe, in my opinion, when the kid is like 5 years old, you should really start showing them things that are going on around the house. Like, we clean our rooms, we wash dishes after we eat. Like, my kids at this age, I'm teaching them, when you spill the water, I give them paper towel, wipe it up. We wipe after ourselves when we make a mess, okay? We do this, we do that, and it makes it easier for I see a message. Yes, yes. Yes, Anna.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. You have to really start. I feel like kids that are grown in the Western world, their brain is like sponge when they're little. So when you don't make that effort to really install those at a very early stage, um then it becomes like it's really hard in their middle school years, because remember, you're going to tell them, they're going to go to school, and all these little things the teacher is going to say, hey, clean your table, wipe this, move that, do that. So you're telling me the teacher should use corporal punishment to be able to get it done? No. So that's why you want to remember, they're on this at this end of the world. Like, they're gonna be interacting with other people back home. If you go to school, at school, your teacher gonna say, when I call your parents, or your teacher even know they're part of the village to raise you. So they're not afraid. But here, your kids, like, words are like their ultimate like punishment. Like, using your words is more powerful than you even using any type of other um disciplinary action, right? So if you start at the age, even if, let's just say you didn't, and you were very busy parents, and like, life is lifing, you got to work, you got to pay bills, you have to take care of them. Sometimes, just even when they reach that older age, teenager, you can still try to talk to them and still try to get them to understand. But remember, the goal is to accomplish something. That's why it's called strategic communication. You want to be able to listen to them and hear them out as well. Because remember, even if they're young kids or they're teenager, they're going through a lot as well, trying to navigate the entire world and understand it and what is going on. So your job is to kind of like guide them into the right way. So if they eat, and just be like, hey, we gotta wash the dishes after we eat. And then maybe to something I would say my parents kind of did when we were at home. Like, they had this thing in the kitchen where it was like, in this house, everybody, when you eat, you clean it. So it was like the golden rules. We had like 10 golden rules in there. Uh-huh,
Can I say something?
go ahead.
Riva says pro. So I just found that your children are teenagers. So if you have teenagers, my dear, it's the hardest time of the years of a parent to raise kids. One thing I would say is you definitely need to talk to them like they're your friend and not authoritatively. They like when you have conversations with them rather than give them commands.
Right.
They like to feel like they have a sense of independence, you know, like all these hormones are going through their mind. Teenagers have to be told every single thing. I live with one.
And you
you
have to be
have to
patient.
you have to be very patient with a teenager. It's not their fault, but it's just the hormones that are going through their bodies. So you have to learn to talk, have conversations rather than give commands or sound like you're a parent. You know, you can start
Right.
off with just talking with them when they do something. If you give them a task, say when you wake up, please make sure the house is clean, you know, and do it by this time frame. I'd like to see the house clean by this date. Don't go back and say, you've not done this. It's 5 minutes later. You have not done it yet.
No.
Just ask
Yeah.
them, have you started doing what I asked you to do? And then let them do it when they're ready. When you go back and forth with them, they will see it as a way to become rebellious. So
Also, if I can just add, I mean, we as human beings, if we know how to plug your button, guess what? We're gonna push it every time. And I always say that because I was one of the teenagers where I felt like I was pretty decent, but I feel like once I hit like puberty, it was a whole lot of things. Sometimes you really don't have control over that, you know? Like you just feel like nobody understands you. And people are just talking just because they're talking, and I'm not even trying to find an excuse for teenagers, but I feel like there's so much going on at school, and then your family, and then you're thinking about the whole life situation, and then now you come home, and then all you hear is like, yeah, they're yelling again, whatever, they will be fine. So it's like you gotta try to observe. Remember, some of the tip was know what the end goal is, because you don't just want to get done today. You want this to be consistent. So if you don't want to keep talking, it's kind of like when you manage a group of people, right? You at the receiving end, your goal is to get it done. So if you give somebody pushback, guess what? They're going to keep giving you pushback, and it makes your job harder. Once you try to build that relationship and try to understand, and somebody understand you, it's easier for you to actually be able to give those instructions to get things done, you know. And then something I learned this week in my trainings is that be a situational leader. Every situation has its way of solving its problem. So don't use it one size fits all. Like be situational. Like in a situation where it's the dishes, maybe this person just don't like washing dishes. Like for me, I would tell you I don't like folding clothes. Like I would never like folding clothes. When I do the laundry, and I don't like doing dishes either up to this day. So when I'm cooking, I wash dishes as I go because I don't want to see it sitting there. Vice versa, when my husband's cooking, he wants to leave everything there when he's done and do it all. Like everybody has their way. So maybe gives them tips like, hey, if you think washing the dishes is too much for you, don't you want to come up with a plan how to make this easy? Because you have to contribute to this family as well. As long we all are contributing, we're all a unit. So if we all live here, we're all here to help each other. You got to make them feel like they're a part of something. I feel like. So I hope that helped. I feel like we're River Sesper is bringing us back to the actual topic. We'll
yeah,
start close.
I
So he
have
said,
something to
guys,
say.
many part of Africa is male dominated. Yes. Do you think strategic communication is applicable in such society? Let's be honest. How many times an African man listened to tips or advices from their wife? Growing up, my father's way was the only way. Yes. You don't know. Actually, your mom influenced most of those ways. But Anna, do you want to answer that before I even go ahead?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I think back then, it used to be. the man was the head of the household. And again, back then, the only reason why women say were not really the way to go was because women were not working and men were the head of the household. And now in the modern days, women are working, they are having more power, they're having a voice now. And the reason why back then the man's way or the father's words were the only way was because men didn't seek their women's advice. They did what they wanted to do. Now, on the modern world, men are learning to involve their wives in a lot of things that they do, and it helps with the upbringings of the kids now. So you could see that back then children were scared of the father and blah blah blah. Now you see that every decision or discipline that parents have for children have to go through their mom and dad. For example, you may want to discipline your child and your child would think you're the bad parent, but then the child will go to the mom and realize that the mom and dad are on the same page. So over time, people have realized that it takes two parents to raise a child and not just one. So back then, the father was a disciplinarian, the mom was a nurturing one. Now they have to work together to raise a good child. So I think that's what's happening now. Men have now seen the value of having a woman's opinion in every decision that they take, so just to get that second opinion. We're in a modernized world now, so things are a little bit different.
Yes, I agree with you, but I feel like most African men still have that embedded in them. They're trying to suppress it. But I would just say to this, as much as African men was dominating, um, I feel like our mother still has some type of influence. In the public, this is something I learned from my mom, right? I feel like as I got older and now I have kids, my mom and I, like, we have conversation like we're friends. I don't want to say friends because I still want to maintain that respect for her. But like I feel like we're kind of like adult having conversation, right? So one thing I would say, as my mom said, that as much as like my dad was like in charge, obviously we all knew men ways was the ways. But if you really pay attention to your parents, if your father was upset and your mother was around and she said, honey, just leave it alone, your dad got quiet and he would leave it alone. So women still had some type of role in there, and they still listen. If you listen earlier on onto the show, I said there was something called pillow talk, right? So my mom is the one who actually had this conversation with me, and she was like, if you're upset, you wait for that quiet time when you go to bed, where you have that time you and your partner talk, where you could tell them, oh honey, you didn't, that wasn't the best decision. So our mother undercover had that influence that we didn't get to see. But to be really honest, women were really in con- they were kind of like in control in a way, because they could influence some of those decisions. But outside it looked like they were more quieter, and the man was dominating. Like, it was built that way for him to be the one making the ultimate decision. But I feel like in my household, my mom said that she could say something to my dad and he would listen, but not out in the open. It had to be somewhere private, like when everybody, all the kids gone to bed, nobody's around. It's just them. They're in the room. She'll probably say, you probably could have disciplined this one a little bit differently. And then he will say, yeah, you're right. Maybe next time I'll do it a little bit differently. So as much as, yes, some of them are stubborn, they don't listen. But I also want to give it up to the African men. I think they're really coming around, and they're starting to understand that in order for us to really build this family unit, we need to also start to listen. So I just want to say shout out to most of the African men, and Rivers is I think you're one of them too. So as much as they're dominating, it will take a while because it was like a cultural thing. But I feel like women still had the influence. It's just they knew when and where. That's why if you look at um the tips that I just gave about that I stated about us, like strategically communicating in your relationship and how that really help is most of it is picking up the right time, like the right timing. Most and nowadays I feel like us modern women, we just feel like because we can voice out our opinion, we can say whatever, we don't know the time and place where to speak. Oh, we have Mr. Peterson joining. How are you?
Hi.
Hi, it's been a while.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah, how have you been?
Oh, well, I've been great. I've been doing good, but
Awesome.
I've not been coming online. I've not been
I
seeing.
know me neither. The
Okay.
show hasn't been on for like 3 weeks. Been going through some, family stuff, loss of family member,
Oh my God.
and we're just going through that. But today is the first day back. So,
Okay,
well,
great. That's great.
yeah. So tonight we're actually about to close in the
Oh,
next few 20, we still got time. Maybe I'll give it to like 20 more minutes. But we're talking about strategic communication. How does it benefit relationship? And we've talked about it all, like being a parent and how do you get your kids to do things. And then we talked about how you could communicate with your partner to be able to get your point across. And definitely we defined what strategic communication was. It's kind of like a plan, knowing your target achievement, like knowing what you want to gain out of that communication instead of you just speaking out, like in most relationship women would just nag and just say you're not doing this, you're not doing this. But the goal is for you to actually be able to sit, think about what it is you want to get done. Do you want to keep complaining about the same thing, or do you want to be able to get that person to actually understand you and be able to get your point across and be able to make some type of change? So that's what we talked about. But right now we were talking about, I think River Says Pro posted something about how African men are more dominating and things like that. And are they going to listen to tips? And I said, well, back in the days, as much as men were dominating, and some still are, I feel like our parents, our mothers still has some type of influence. But as part of some of the tips, well, picking that time, when do you talk to them? Because out in the open, all you see is the men speaking, right? But then you don't know when they have that pillow time how much of an influence the woman had there. So that's why I was saying that some of us modern women, we don't know how to pick that moment. When is the men's more quiet time, and when can you really have that conversation to influence some of the things that are happening? So that's what we left off.
hi, Hannah. Anna, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Andrew. It's okay. You could be on tomorrow.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Yes. That's a great topic. To be frank, that's a very
Mhm.
exciting one, especially educative. It's very educative.
Yeah.
Communication is a powerful tools that really matter a lot in community in a relationship. Even I can say both parenting and marital relationship. Communication is important. How you communicate with your kids, and how you are willing to listen to your kids, how you respond to their needs. These are very important in building a very good family, especially when you are taking care of you are parenting children. And the other side, like this is about River's concern is about domineering men in the modern relationship. Is that possible to for these people to listen to people? And you just hit it exactly. I feel like you said, um, women these days, women, we have some that are more in depth educated when it comes to how you want for your home to be like, and there are others who are not really patient to dive into that kind of a a communication that will bring things together. Rather, um, they are used to the syndrome of everybody is equal. And if you want to say everybody is equal, yes, but when it is in a traditional setting, everybody cannot throw colors. Everybody cannot do certain thing. That's just what I
Mhm.
try to say. So the respect should be there. Understand that some one person is a helpmate and another person is also a helpmate. Both of you are there to help each other. In as much as you are from diverse family background, it's important to understand that you need to do this. So there are times you speak to men. I don't care who you are, that man will listen. If the man is so domineering, that man will listen. We have time to listen to it. So the best thing is just to know what time to do that. So if the person is very, and somebody said, two-person, you can't have two captain a ship and allow the ship to go easily. So
Right.
when one person is, up there, other person need to have that patience to listen or to come down. And afterward, you can come back. So yes, I don't think I want to drag you guys. You guys are gone far. For
Right.
me, from my end, I think so. You have hit it
Okay.
well. Mhm.
Thank you. So River says Pro says, so if all those tips on strategic communication are exhausted and habit don't change, what's next? Divorce? What's the guarantee that you will find men who listen and learn? Well, well. Isn't that interesting? And I feel like this is where most of the world is leading because everybody just feels like and my way, and that's it. But in my opinion, I feel like people fail to understand that you are two different people coming from two different walk of life. And if you're trying to create a common goal, both of you have to compromise, and that's where then I hate to put it this way. I feel like relationship is kind of like a business deal, right? When you go make a business deal, your goal is to gain that business, and your goal is to make sure you succeed, not failed. You're not going to start a business to fail. You're investing money, you're investing time, you're investing everything that you have because you have this dream, and your goal is to make this relationship or this business become successful. Because what are you going to gain out of it? Financial freedom. That is what most people think about, right?
Sure.
Financial freedom, and you're going to be able to help somebody else, and then you're going to be looked at in society as someone who's influential because you created a business and you're successful, and you're also like a role model that somebody can actually look at and also follow along with it. I say this because I feel like that's how relationship is, right? Your goal is when you get into a relationship, if you're going in thinking like, okay, I'm just gonna be mediocre and just, we'll just be this way and then get what I want and then I'm out, then you're not going to be successful because you have to live and breathe everything about that relationship. When you're working for yourself, that's why when I hear a lot of people, you talk to them, yeah, I want to create a business. And then it's like, okay, what is your goal? Do you have money saved up? Do you know you're going to work 10 times than you will work for somebody else? Because if you don't make money, you don't pay your bills. At least if you work for somebody else, even if you're like slacker, you still get a paycheck. So in a relationship, if your ultimate goal is to convince someone, then I don't, for me, in my opinion, you're not going to be successful. is to work along with someone because this person is different. They're bringing this. This is who they are, unless they're being dishonest, right? Now you know who this person is, and then you yourself, this is who you are. You're difficult. This person is difficult. If you feel like this person is someone that in your life that you picture, at the end of the day, you both have the same goal and you know you're going to be successful, then why wouldn't you be able to work along and communicate in a way where both of you guys understand each other? And if you think you're not, if your goal is to make sure to make them change who they are and you're not influencing them for them to make that change themselves, then yeah, you're going to be heading for divorce because I don't think you're going to be successful with trying to convince someone who don't want to actually listen and for you both to work along, and you're not being respectful in the same way how to communicate and be successful in your relationship. That's what I would say to that. What do you say?
And so I see it this way. You are
Mhm,
totally right. But I see it from another angle.
mhm,
Two persons, two partners together, they need to work together. One should not be consider um, least, and other person consider themselves up. You are not going to, like you said, exactly. Relationship is like a, a business that you want to get into it, and that business success depends on the owner. And so if one person feel that he is an employee and another person
mhm.
feel that he is an
Yeah.
owner of that business, the
Yeah.
person who is an employee will always think, say, if I leave this job, I will get another job.
Right.
Then you don't get it right. But it should be a clear premise laid out that this is a partnership. If you start a business as a partnership, I feel that I have let's say, an investment there. You feel you have an investment there. So our work together is going to be like, how do I work to make this business grow the best? And you going to say, how do I work to get this my investment best? In that way, we have our mindset in the right direction, and
Right.
we speak positivities to what we have put together to get it succeed. So like the business, I mean, like the relationship, if a husband feel that my wife is a partner to this family, and it's not seeing the wife as a property, uh, it's not seeing the wife as a liability, and the wife is not seeing the husband as a liability, seeing the husband as a partner. No matter what happens, if the husband is not working and the wife is doing all of the lucrative job, and the wife is bringing in all the money, doing all of the hours, breaking the money, and the husband is just breaking in peanuts, you still see the husband as a partner to that relationship. Then, of course, you will not reach to the point of child support. You will still
Right.
get child support from that person, because that person will feel that, yes, no matter what it is, even though I'm not making money now, but I need my present to be here so my children can live the right and can have the right parenting. So that is it. So if you don't do that, if you have different mindset in having a relationship, I feel that is not going to work. And when you reach to the point of dead end, the next thing is, I can advise you, if you have done everything and everything and nothing is working, you reach to the point of divorce. I feel that divorce should not be the first priority. The first priority could maybe separation. You give a little space to that person and see, and after a few months, the person may know that, come to the knowledge that, oh yes, even though we have our ups and downs, but I think there is no need to have divorce. We need to
Right.
come back together. So people rush into divorce. I think it's not the right step to do. If you have done everything, to River says point, if you have done everything and you reach to that end, divorce is not the first priority. Holding out in constant that every efforts have been placed and nothing is working. I feel divorce is not the very best priority. The first thing
No.
you do is have a separation, give
Okay.
space to each other, give
Right.
space to each other, and observe what is happening. Sometimes that period can have a healing time. Somebody
Right.
who may seem so tough to understand at that time, after the first 2 3 weeks gone, you are not seeing that person. You may even have your own, you know, your own thinking. You may even have your conscience could even judge you better. Look, I think my fiance or my wife was saying something better. I don't know what get me to this point. I don't think I can divorce her. Or I think my husband, maybe I was not understanding what he was saying, but at this time, I don't think I will let my children to be fatherless, or I don't think child support should be the best way to parent my kids. So
Right.
when you separate and when you give that space to each other, you will see what's going to happen.
Right.
So I think that could be the very first thing you do, not divorce.
I agree. I agree. Absolutely. I agree. Um, yeah, that is a good point right there. I agree. But then also, before we even go to this one, some people use that separation as a way to actually step out in a relationship. What do you say to that though?
So the point is somebody may be getting the wrong and feel that
Okay.
separation is the best. No, we are not saying either of them is the best. We are
Okay.
saying you reach to a point that that I mean you are at the point of filing for divorce. And so
Right.
we're saying at that point, everything from your end, you feel that you're doing the best. You feel that you're
Right.
giving your best to the relationship. You feel that everything you're doing is the best. But still, there is no understanding. And you are reached to the point of filing for divorce. And we're saying that divorce should not be the priority at that point, at that dialogue. The
Okay.
point at that dialogue is space, giving space to each other.
So it should be clearly defined then.
Right, that's it. It
Okay.
should be clearly defined that look, uh, I think I need a little time. Can we have a little time? Be to that place, I be to this place. Let's give chance to each other. If this
To think.
divorce will work, to think
Gotcha.
about that. That is
Gotcha.
that is that is that is what we're talking about. But
Right.
some people who may choose to just walk out of that relationship, it means these are the same thing. It means that person is not willing to see that relationship work.
Right. So basically, sitting down, having conversation, say, hey, look, like we're really not getting anywhere, maybe taking some time, it's a good thing. And then these are, because I feel like some people, you really have to spell it out to them because out here, these 21st century relationship stuff I've heard, like, yeah, we're separating. They have a whole relationship. They're living by them with somebody. And I'm like, huh? You living with someone you're still legally married.
So you see, so that is not the point we are speaking of. We are
Okay.
speaking of where you guys are like I said, all thing constant,
Right.
meaning your love is there. You really intend to build your relationship, but there is something that seems not working.
Okay.
There is no understanding, and you see
Yeah.
maybe let's see, maybe a standard factor is like trooping into your relationship, maybe
Right.
parental or maybe friendship. Maybe there is certain characteristic that you carry, and your husband or your wife is not liking this characteristic. Maybe you have a behavior that I mean, absolutely the children cannot go with it, and one partner has seen that no matter how it is, I don't think my children should live under the same roof with that kind of behavior. These are the
Right.
situations
Right.
we're speaking of. So you need
Right.
to get space to see if Peterson will change or Mary will change.
Right. Rivers is killing me with the other comment, man. Let me tell you. Remember, I posted a quote today, and that really hit home. The quote said, I have to read it word for word. What did I post today? There was a quote. I'm so sorry, guys. I have to go to it and read it really quickly. I can't remember. I know it was something about us being programmed to win and lose. So I always read all these daily quotes, and I like to share it along with Bible verses that go along with it. So today I came across something that said we were designed to win but programmed to lose. And I feel like it goes with what River Says Pro just said, right? We are we are programmed that, we'll get married, everything will be great, but then there aren't tools, around us. We're losing because we're told as soon we go online, we read something about, yeah, your relationship should be this, be that. Once it's like that, it's like you're losing because now you're thinking about, okay, I don't have to deal with you. I'm out of here. You know? So that's why I had to read that. So he says, finally, I like that one, River says, bro, that was good. That was good. He said, finally, how do we ensure our communication are not perceived as nagging? What do we do if we notice changes of tone during process of communicating? Do we call it quit for another day? Do we keep going?
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
think, yes, you call it quit because for me, I feel like and this is now I'm really starting to master my own communication style and how when I notice, like I can tell if I'm annoying my husband, I know like when his tone change and like, what do you mean? I know exactly that's like the code word of Felicia, stop. Like just stop. you know, what is that and what does that mean? Like, okay, I'm sorry. We can talk about this another time. I'll let it go. And then we change the topic to something funny. So I think understanding your partner is very, very key.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like knowing those trigger words that really, get them to get, kind of agitated. Like, okay, you're not saying anything that making sense to me. I'm not listening to you, so maybe it's time for you to. So I would say just paying attention to body language and like tone of voice. Definitely when it starts to like raise, we women, we quick on raising those voice, like, yeah, that's why you did it last time. And now you know that. I feel like even as a man, you should notice that too. Once you start to see that her voice start raising, maybe you can say, all right, you know what? Let's just forget about this topic for now. We can revisit that when tensions are not high because the goal is for you to get something resolved and actually make life easy for both of you and not to keep going and nagging because at that point nobody's listening.
And yes, you are totally right. Quitting a topic is very good.
Yeah.
Being very sensitive to what your partner a temper could be like is very good. But one of the things I got to realize is the powerful tools to to resolve some tension is testing,
Right.
because there is a way you say hello, your partner will mean right there in answer to you in a very harsh tone.
Yeah.
If you send that same word hello through text, the person tuned to answer that is not going to interpret any way negative to you.
Right.
So what do that mean? Sometimes you have a outstanding issue, and maybe you it still play on you, but you try to play diplomacy with it. It still play on you. To bring it back and start to discuss it live, it may start creating that kind of tension, and your change of voice is going to be so harsh and sometimes lead to something else. And then you wait after a certain time, and maybe you gone to work, it's your break hour and what have you. That test, if you test the person and you try to play around and bring that same issue, you'll be surprised to know that you're going to resolve that thing through test. And when you get back home, you're going to start discussing in a very friendly tone, and you will not imagine whether you guys have been fighting over the same topics before. So
Right.
some communication, you don't force yourself to make everything verbal.
Right.
Sometimes have a time that you communicate through texting your colleague, your friends, your fiance, your husband, your wife, and what have you. Do that and see what you been like having some, talks over. See if you can easily, you know, communicate through text, communicate through, yes, sending text message, WhatsApp, and just play around that and send it to your friend. It's going to work well for you. Like River said, that's it. So it's good that you sometimes try to quit certain topics, especially when you get to know that you guys are having some problem with it. It's good to quit it and give you a little time and then just say, "Hi, City. I we a little bit talked somehow today. I didn't get you well. So yes, I get you better. What was he trying to say?" That person is going to explain themselves and you will not believe that.
Right. Sorry, my son, it looks like the topic woke him up. He came out like running straight to me.
Yes.
Oh my god. Yeah, but I absolutely agree. Like sometimes, we just don't. That's why I said, sometimes we women, we are very, because we're in our emotion in that moment. We just want to get it out. But, actually, over the past, I would say a few months, I really start to, I don't know if you listen to TED Talk, how to really, I'll recommend it to anybody that's on YouTube. They have these speakers, and it really teaches you how to be a great leader professionally. And, I think watching that and just listening to them have really, I
Yeah.
try to incorporate that into my regular daily life, and it's really helped. It's on YouTube. They have different speakers and stuff. But
Yep.
it's been a really great show, you
Mhm.
guys. I have my little man. He woke up. Look at him. Let's sit over there, Shayla. We're almost done with the show. Okay. Okay. All right. He wants to. That's mommy's boy.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it's been a really great topic. I hope everybody will. I forgot where I put my phone now. It had all my notes on there, but strategic communication is definitely the key. It's not just for relationship. I think people can use that professionally as well, in their working area, because it really helps you to get your point across. And, if it becomes a habit at work where you know how to communicate, I think most of those problems that people face in their home will really be solved if you just, listen, picking the right moment, and knowing that you just want to achieve something before you just talk, because you're just empty talking, nobody's listening, and you're not getting nothing accomplished. So it's been a great show. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, River Pro, for all the contribution, giving us those questions to lead the shows. Definitely helpful. And thanks for joining too, Peterson. It was great having you on.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I just got a link. It was done.
Yeah.
You just send the information to me. Added me to your chat. So that was
Yeah.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think,
Thank you. Go ahead. You want to give your closing statement?
yeah, sure. So thank you so much for the show. And I have my sympathy for
Thank you.
those many things you've been having. And I do not know. So myself, I
I
was just
know.
thinking it was the past Sunday I tried a link and I couldn't go through. I said, "Oh, I think she's not on today," and I left it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so communication is good. Like we said, everyone should know that. If you just know the weakness of your friend, that's the best thing. If your husband has problem with responding to you on many issues, the soft way that you like, try another way that you think you can get his attention and be able to communicate smoothly. Vice versa, your husband, your wife, as well as your children, very important because
Yeah.
the gift God gave you, when they are coming up, they have their own thing, start to develop their own thing. You need to learn, know how to communicate with them, how to take their issues serious, and then things will be okay. Thank you for the
Right.
show. That was great.
Thank you so much. Definitely. Um, Communicating, we can never ever master that. It's something that we continuously learn. And everybody is different. You have to learn each and every one communication styles. Your kids as they get older, it change around. Your partner life day to day can, sometimes too as women, just knowing your husband favorite food really helps. Because if you cook that
That's
favorite
it.
food,
That's it. That's it.
cook their favorite food. My husband likes tabagi. So if I cook it, I know all my requests and communication is gonna happen.
I know, right? That's it. Sure, that's it. That's it.
So, making their favorite food and then, creating that mood just to be able to get your point across has definitely been something that I feel like have helped.
And that was the
Um,
tools that Esther used to get the heart of the king. So
there you go. Yeah. So, food definitely is an easy way. I always say at my job, food brings people together. Let's do a potluck. And you'll see everybody's excited and happy. So, definitely. And some people, buying gifts, if that's what works for them. I'm not buying gifts. I just cook. And that works for me. So, learning that sometimes your kids too, maybe they like certain type of event, like if you take them to the park, maybe they like that, telling them, if you do a really good job contributing to the family and doing what I ask you to do, also being patient as well with them, it really helps. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, River Says Pro. Thank you, Anna. Thank you to our viewers. And thank you. Sorry, Andrew, you couldn't be on. It was you missed a great topic, but we'll see you tomorrow. We're here again tomorrow, so you have another chance to join us.
so
Thank you so much, Peterson. It's always a pleasure having you on the show.
thank
And
you.
thanks to everyone. We'll see you guys again tomorrow.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Have a good night. All right, guys, and that's it.